So tonight's Chodesh Menachem Av, right? And Matzah Shabbos, when you make Havdalah and wine, if you have somebody under bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah to drink it, so then you give it to them to drink. But if not, you drink it. Yeah? Because we don't drink wine during the 9 days.
9 days.
Yeah. What's that? Is it? It's not Shabbos Chazon this week, right? It's next week is Shabbos Chazon. My bar mitzvah parsha.
Really? But Tisha B'Av technically is next Shabbat, and is that it's still Shabbat?
It's still Shabbos, yeah.
No.
You're going to be eating meat on Tisha B'Av next week. You're so religious. So you're going to be in Tzfat for raise your side.
Yeah.
I might go. We'll see. Might go. It's my father's your side also. Hey Av. And it's my birthday.
I would like to wish you this coming Tisha B'Av, a Freilich and Tisha B'Av.
Oh, mine. That's why in the afternoon we already get up because Mashiach is born in the afternoon. Where did we start? Yesterday. I think we were on 2. Michal, where did we start?
I have to confess that
You were high. You were in higher Oilamus.
Yes.
Baruch Hashem, what's it like up there? You see anybody that? David Goldman became a chassan yesterday.
You see there?
Yeah. Yaakov, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty good. Give him the book, please. Okay. So we started this piece about what's the difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur, and he was talking about that the whole Indian is that, it's one thing, Yom Kippur, you're saying, Hashem, I'm sorry for this and I'm sorry for that, but it's like they've done these things. I'm so alone now.
What page are you on?
207. No, 208. Yeah.
The last thing I remember.
1 minute, Michal. Okay. We're on 208, around the mid-page, starting with Lefi HaMasoret, page 208. Okay? The professor's daughter. The father's a professor of Judaic studies in the city of the wise. heard of that in America? Which city is the city of the wise in America?
New York.
Boston.
Huh?
They have over 200 colleges there, you know. And you ever drive in Boston?
Mm-hmm.
You got to think like a cow. You got to follow the cow paths because the roads don't go straight at all. Like, you know, anybody from New York there gets lost after 2 minutes. Yeah. And I remember when I drove with Judy to Boston once for Shabbos, and I kept on asking people for directions to get to Jamaica Plains. So everybody gave me like a whole brochure. This and that and that and that. And every time we got lost. Finally asked like a taxi driver, what do you call somebody who can't read or an illiterate? He says, follow the streetcar tracks. And we got there. Yeah,
The city of the wise.
yeah,
Even the illiterate.
yeah. Somebody had to do it again. Anyway, so that's the, you know, like, sometimes too much of a drush is not a good thing, you know. Okay, page 208. Lefi hamasoret hamukra biyoter. According to our deepest Messiah, according to our deepest teachings, traditions. Welcome. Page 208. לפי המסורת העמוקה ביותר, רגע לפני החופה, a moment before the chuppah, החתן שם אפר מירושלים על מצחו. You put a little bit of ashes on the forehead of the chosen, preferably from Yerushalayim. מה העניין בזה? So why do we do that? להזכיר לו, page 208, and can you show her where we are today? להזכיר לו, to remind him at Tisha B'Av, to remind him of the destruction of the temple. כי אם אתה רוצה להיות קשור עם עוד אדם, this is an amazing teaching. כי אם אתה רוצה להיות קשור עם עוד אדם, if you want to be connected with another person, אתה צריך לבכות על זה כמו בתשעה באב. You have to cry over it like you're crying on Tisha B'Av. Brooke, do you see like a marker or a pen there on the table around you? No?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Well, what we've been learning is that our whole connection, our whole ability to connect, right, is you got to be connected to your higher essence, right? We spoke about it last night, right? And the connection with the higher essence is
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but so even to really be deeply connected with another person, so why so when you're getting married, you're going into a much deeper connection than you are with a friend. Right? So you have to manage, like, you know, like what he's saying is like, are you crying over it? You know, like, you know, when I was at Leibish's wedding, he's going to be coming here. He's going to be teaching in our program next year. So at his chuppah, he started to cry, and he couldn't stop for over 15 minutes. Like the rabbi had to wait for him. Everybody had to wait for him. He was just so much crying, like a child, like out loud, you know, like a kid crying. He was crying. He couldn't believe that, you know, Hashem helped me, you know, send me my soulmate. His mom is crying, and his parents were standing there like, what do we do now? What do we do now? What do we do now? And everybody, the whole crowd, like all the guests were like blown away by his crying. It was just unbelievable, right? It's like when you're really connected, you cry, right? It's something very deep. So he says, you know, like like sometimes I remember once. A big ski area. You've heard of that, right? The Muncie. Anyway, there's a whole town outside of New York called New Square. Anyway, so sometimes, we're good friends, and I would call them up, sometimes, how do you? There's certain things, everybody has certain, things that you don't do so great, and you want to fix it, and so on. And sometimes you try this, and sometimes you try that. I would sometimes discuss some of these things with him, and one day he finally said, "I'll tell you the truth, I don't have any aids in how to overcome this. The only thing I could tell you is that you just have to cry your heart out. You have to cry your heart out. Certain things, certain mistakes, huh?
This is what the square office
This the Square Dine in Montreal. There's certain things that you just you're doing certain thing wrong. So okay, so for example, you have trouble getting up for minions, so you can arrange for porcupines to come and visit you at 6:00 in the morning and say, "Get out of bed fast, otherwise we'll quill you." That's pretty good. We'll quill you. You can make certain arrangements.
You should not do that. You should not make jokes because myself, I'll forget this year.
But you'll remember the joke. Good. Okay. That's a good one. What did the porcupine say to the bocher? Get out of bed fast before I quill you. Okay. Anyway, but then there's certain things you try and you try and you try and you're just not managing to overcome something. So he said that sometimes there's no advice other than mamish, cry over it, cry your heart out. So what Reb Shlomo is saying is if you really want to be close to another person, you have to be able to cry your heart out over it. Okay.
When I read that,
I thought you didn't remember what you're saying because of the joke. That's too soon. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
What is crying? If I want to catch it with somebody, what does crying help?
Crying is I once heard Reb Shlomo say that tears are the mikveh of the soul. Think about it, you'll see. Okay?
How long do I think about it?
You'll tell me afterwards how long. I don't know. How do I know? Some people can cry for 10 seconds, then it's worth more than another person crying for an hour. I don't know. Crying does, real tears, just as long as it's not alligator tears.
You can't tell me you don't know, because I think you know everything.
Well, let me correct you. I don't. Okay. So he says, אני רוצה שתדעו היום שלפני החתונה הוא כולו יום הכיפורים, right? The day before the wedding is considered Yom Kippur, right? So ורגע לפני החופה, כששמים אפר מירושלים על מצח החתן, זהו תשעה באב. So Reb Shlomo is saying this amazing teaching. He says the day before the wedding is your Yom Kippur. The moments before the chuppah, when you put the ashes on the forehead of the chosin, that's Tisha B'Av. החתן בוכה ממש, ריבונו של עולם שיבנה בית המקדש. Master of the world, I really want the Beit HaMikdash to be rebuilt. I don't want to see any more broken homes.
It's a common tradition now.
It's common, and yeah, I do it when I do a wedding. It should be done. And we can't do it. Omek ha'omakim. Right, you see where we are, 7 lines from the bottom. Actually 8. We can't do it. Omek ha'omakim. כשלא מחוברים למישהו זה לא כואב. When you're not connected with somebody, it doesn't hurt. אבל אם מחוברים ולא מחוברים, But if you're connected and they're not connected, Gewalt ze koev, it hurts. Gewalt ze koev. There's a street over here nearby called Rabbi Aryeh Levine, named after Rabbi Aryeh Levine. So one of the stories about him is that he went to the doctor with his wife. The doctor says, "What's wrong?" He says, "Oh, my wife's leg is hurting us." She had a problem, and he said, "It's hurting us," right? I once heard an expression in English: every person lives in the castle of their own skin. Like to sympathize with somebody is not so difficult, but to empathize, to really feel what the other person is feeling, that's really the definition of to really be so connected that you feel another person's joy, that you feel another person's pain. So Yom Kippurim, ani lo tzarich tivkot. Yom Kippur, I don't have to cry. Yom Kippurim, ani yachol levakesh mechila. It's enough to ask for forgiveness. Ze maspik. Im bochim, if you're crying also, okay, ze yafeh od yoter. So it's like, like us, it's like even more beautiful, right? But im lo bochim, even if you don't cry, adayin yotzim yidei chova. You've fulfilled your obligation of Yom Kippur. Page 209. But Tisha B'Av, but on Tisha B'Av, what does it say? The Tisha B'Av, it says, B'cho tifke b'layla. You should cry through the night. If you don't feel the pain, then Ein lecha Tisha B'Av. Then you're not really experiencing Tisha B'Av. It was an angel or it was a person? It's a person. It's Shango. It's an angel person. Come on in, there's you up here. You have your book? Baruch Hashem, glad to see you feeling better. Good. Okay, so Tisha B'Av is really a matter of feeling it, right? 209. If I say to you, אני מצטער שאנחנו לא מחוברים, ואני לא בוכה, וזה לא כואב לי, if I say to you, I'm sorry that we're not connected, and I don't cry over the fact that we're not connected, and it doesn't really hurt me, so אני מצטער, I'm sorry, אז מה, so what? למי אכפת עד כמה אתה קשור אם לא כואב לך? Does anybody care how much you're not connected if you don't feel the pain of it? Tisha B'Av is b'chiyah mamash. Tisha B'Av is about true, real crying. B'cho tivke b'layla, cry through the night. Ma zot omeret? Torah sheba, what does that mean? Torah sheba'al peh hi ani mamash mechubar. The oral Torah. What is the oral Torah all about? What is Torah sheba'al peh about? It means that your mom is connected with the Torah. Right? In other words, you're so connected that you understand how to apply the Torah. You understand how to apply the Torah in situations. How to apply the Torah in situations that have not been figured out yet before. Right? But you can only do that if you're really connected with it. In other words, if you want it to be Torah Sheba'al Peh, we're not talking about, you ever see the Sefer Shevot V'Tshuvot Mehabetem? Like, my stomach is ruling. I paskin like this. That's the Shabbos V'Tshuvos from my stomach, but real Shelot V'Tshuvot, right? Like how did Rabbi Feinstein paskin the Shaila? How did he make rulings? How did all the other poskim? How did they make rulings? You can only do it if you're really, really connected. You can only do it if you're really connected to the Torah. If otherwise, may I have a cup too? After your breath. Okay. right? You have to mamish be connected to the Torah to understand, okay, what is the Torah, thank you, what is the Torah telling me to do in this situation? In other words, it has to be obviously, you have to be able to support it on other things that have been written so far, right? You have to be knowledgeable. But for example, Reb Shlomo said that, like, just yesterday, Reb Fink was giving a shir. It was like amazing, like how. So you had Rav Kook's opinion, you had Rav Ziel's opinion. Both were really connected to Torah. When Shammai and Hillel were having arguments in the Talmud, the Gemara says, "Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim." That both of them are speaking the words of the living God. But who's right? They're both right. So what do? So that when it was decided that the halacha, we're going to follow Hillel in this particular case, we're going to follow Shammai in this particular case. It doesn't mean that Shammai was wrong. The decision was made which way we're going to go. Okay, but they're both speaking the words of the living God. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says that the machloket of Korach and his gang is a machloket shelo l'shem shamayim. What's an argument that's for the sake of heaven? It's an argument of Hillel and Shammai. So the Mefarshim say, what's the difference between an argument of Hillel and Shammai and the argument of Korach when he rebelled against Moshe? The argument of Korach when he's rebelling against Moshe Rabbeinu, it's about, I'm right and you're wrong. Hillel and Shammai, when they were arguing, it wasn't I'm right and you're wrong. I want to know the truth. And if you're right, I want to know that you're right. And Shammai is saying, I also want to know the truth. And if you're right, I want to know that you're right. Rabbi Yaina, you waiting for me? Okay. So wait. So I'll see you in a few days anyway, right?
Yeah.
Big Yeshur Koyach. Thank you so much for running with everybody here. You know, and you should have a good summer. And Mamish, we're looking forward. You know, the Chayil al Chayil. Call to, thank you so much. Lots of nachas.
Wait for the women to be able to learn with him. Some way for the women to be able to learn with him also.
When he teaches here, the women learn with him also.
When he fills in for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not enough.
Somebody gave you a message to deliver to me about that?
No,
I'm saying that
he's too good. He's too good.
he's too good. He's too good. He's awesome.
Yeah.
We are blessed with the best teachers. Hashem sent them to us. It's not like, we interviewed people and this and that. Hashem literally sends them.
You see how great a person you are. But God made you the shaliach.
Right, because they didn't ask to see the business plan. No, I'm serious. God's good. I used to think about it. Like, why didn't Hashem make somebody else the shaliach for this yeshiva?
Moshe Rabbeinu had the same argument.
Okay.
I would never have done it when I was.
So
I should argue with you.
Listen. Okay.
They didn't throw me out.
Careful, Michal, careful. I might start talking about your brother-in-law soon. His brother-in-law was my principal in the yeshiva I went to.
The first time he said that, I asked my brother,
He doesn't remember this. Yeah. He can just sit with me for 5 minutes and he'll remember.
Okay, write it, please.
Okay. So he says, yes, I was telling you, so once Reb Shlomo had a very serious question for Moshe Feinstein. And he said, call me back in the morning. And in the morning, he gave him the answer. And Shlomo says he has no doubts that he spent the entire night before studying the issue before he gave the answer. He said he could have easily said no to the question that was asked, because that was the general halacha in this particular question. Okay, but Reb Moshe Feinstein, was so well aware, yeah, that's the general halacha, but this situation, there's something unique about it. What is the Torah Shabbal Peh? What is the Torah wanting? What is the Torah wanting to be happening in this situation? Okay? So to be able to do that, you really, really have to be connected to the Torah. That's what Reb Shlomo is saying, is that Torah Shabbal Peh is about being connected, right? The Mashal, for example, כשאני לומד את הרמב"ם, when I'm learning the Rambam, and ואני כל כך מחובר עם הרמב"ם, and I'm so connected with the Rambam, אני לא מבין מה אומר הרמב"ם. I don't understand what the Rambam is saying sometimes, אבל בכל זאת אני כל כך קשור, but I'm so connected, עד שאני בוחר למה אני לא מבין. I'm so connected that until I finally begin to cry, why don't I understand this? Okay? So, if someone once said, sometimes you're learning a piece of Gemara, you spend a day on it, and you don't understand it, and the second day, and the third day, and it's just not making any sense. And you finally begin to cry, and all of a sudden, oh, Eureka! It's a partial lesson. So somebody asked a question and didn't have an answer, and I said to her that, Reb Shlomo, most often when people would ask him questions, he would say, "That's a great question," and he wouldn't answer. And nobody used to understand, why. I asked you a question, why don't you tell me the answer? So he says, because if somebody asks you a question and you answer them right away, the conversation is over. And when somebody's asking a question, sometimes they just want to know the answer, but it's not just that they want to know the answer. They want to connect with you in the learning. So what he would do is he would often say, let's make the question even better. And he still wouldn't answer you. Right? So it's, we've used this example a number of times. Before the electron microscope was invented, there were already a few scientists that were speaking about these little microorganisms, but nobody was able to see them yet. So one of his colleagues would say, he's got a little bit of a jug in his head. There's one thing that he's not so normal about, right? And then the electron microscope was finally invented, right? So empirical science worked on the basis of, if you can't prove it that it's there, then it's not there. But that's incorrect. The correct thing to say is, yeah, maybe it's there, maybe it's not there, I don't know. But to say that it's not there because I don't see it, it's not correct. To say that because I have this question and nobody can answer this question, that proves that my point is right, is also incorrect. I had this question years ago, and for 12 years, nobody was able to give me a satisfactory answer. And I went foolishly and I said, that proves that I'm right. Until 12 years later, I opened up this book and I saw something in this particular book. I said, oh, wow. The Chachamim were so much wiser, way wiser than I realized. Okay? Literally. So the fact that nobody was able to give me the answer, all it means is that nobody had an answer for me. It doesn't mean that the rabbis were wrong. Okay? Huh?
I think I've noticed that I speak to people that people sometimes are like to be disappointed by who they think should have knowledge around them, and then they associate that with their religious debate.
Yeah. So you need to learn how to live with the question, and you might find out the answer a day before you die, and then you might not find out the answer until you go back to Shemayim.
So every question has an answer.
And a question.
Oh, if it's a Jewish question.
You bet.
And if one does not get an answer, or one does not understand,
if it's in the Torah, it's still true. And even the things that you understand in the Torah, their truth is not because you understand them. It's a gift that Hashem is giving you that you can also understand it. But it's not that it's true that, like, thou shalt not steal. The truth of thou shalt not steal is not dependent on the fact that I understand it. Thank God we have the opportunity to understand it. But the truth of it is because it's in the Torah. Not a very modern way of thinking.
and when the kindness is not necessarily because we understand, but because.
But if you understand it, it's like icing on top of the cake, yeah. Okay? So, he says, Mashal mahadavar domer. What is this similar to? So, for example, אם אני מקבל מכתב ביפנית ממישהו שלא אכפת לי ממנו. Let's say I get a letter in Japanese. You speak Japanese, right? No?
Also,
And it's a letter from someone that I don't really care about. And then I say, אני לא יודע מה הוא רוצה. I don't know what he wants. אבל אם אדם רוצה להתחתן עם בחורה מיפן, but if you want to marry with this girl from Japan, והיא כותבת לו מכתב ביפנית, and she writes him a letter in Japanese, והוא לא יודע מה כתוב, and he doesn't understand what's written there, הוא אומר, ריבונו של עולם גוואלד, master of the world, אני חייב לדעת מה כתוב. I have to know what she wrote. הרי המכתב נכתב אליי, the letter was written to me. אני קשור אליה, I'm connected to her. I have to understand what it says here, right? So the Torah was given to you. The Torah was given to us. If you don't understand it, if we don't understand it, we got to say, Hashem, you gave me this letter. I need to know what it's about. I need to understand it. So תראו, אם אדם לומד גמרא ולא מבין, if a person is learning Gemara and doesn't understand it, זה לא מפריע לו, and it doesn't upset him, הוא לא קשור, חס ושלום. That means he's not really connected with it. God forbid. אני רוצה שתדעו חברים, I want you to know this, ישנם שני ימים שהם ממש גוואלד. We have two awesome days, תשעה באב ושמחת תורה. עניין באב ושמחת תורה. בתשעה באב אני בוכה על הקשר שלי. Tisha B'Av, I'm crying over my connection. Simchat Torah, אני רוקד עם הקשר שלי, and on Simchat Torah, I'm dancing with my connection. B'Simchat Torah, אני לא לומד את המילים של התורה. Simchat Torah, we don't spend time studying the words of the Torah. אני רק רוקד עם התורה. I'm just dancing with it, כי אני קשור because I'm connected with it. Page 210. הקשיבו אליי. אני חוזר על מה שאמרתי, I'm repeating what I said. ביום הכיפורים אני מבקש סליחה על מה שעשיתי. יום כיפור I'm asking for forgiveness for what I did. בתשעה באב אני לא יכול לסלוח לעצמי. תשעה באב I can't forgive myself. אני איך יכולתי לעשות דבר כזה? How could I have done this? אם הייתי קשור, if I would have been connected, לא הייתי מסוגל לעשות דבר כזה. I wouldn't have been able to do something like that.
is that what Anabela is?
That's what we've been learning. It's the separation.
And that's when Anabela, so I'm mixed connects, Anabela
Separates. Yeah. אני רוצה שתדעו, I want you to know, רבי נחמן אומר, כל תיקון בעולם every fixing in the world, matchil b'tisha b'av, starts on Tisha B'av. B'tisha b'av ani shuv mikasher et asmi. But the whole service of Tisha B'av is to get connected again. Misham, and from there, la'at ani yoseh darki. From there, slowly, I start finding my way. At Yom Kippurim, till I get to Yom Kippur. Ad shani mevakesh slicha. Then I can really ask for forgiveness. Acharei Yom Kippurim, after Yom Kippur, and Sam Lev shelo hayiti mekusha kemo shayiti tzarich liyot. Then I realized that I wasn't connected as I should have been. Lachar mikein, and when I have that realization, ba simchat Torah, shizot Tisha b'av b'matzav shel simcha. Then we celebrate Simchas Torah, which is Tisha B'av, and the flip side of Tisha B'av, the joy of the connection. Zehu gam Yom Kippurim, ze shnehem yachad. It's Simchas Torah is Yom Kippur and Tisha B'av together. L'achar mikein anu matchilim lilmod et Torah mehatchala Torah acheret. Then we start Bereshis again. We start at the beginning again, and then it's like another Torah. Ezo Torah ani matchil lilmod b'simchat Torah. Wow, what a Torah that I'm starting to live on, that I'm starting to learn again on Simchas Torah.
And you start Devarim right before Shabbat Chazon, right?
Right. Next Shabbos. Yeah.
And finish it
So what are you saying?
it's not a connection.
Connection.
That is like already prepping for the
Well,
last one.
you're saying something very good. Sefer Dvorim, otherwise known as Mishneh Torah, which translates as Deuteronomy, right? Repetition of the Torah. Sefer Dvorim was actually said by Moshe Rabbeinu. Ela Dvarim Asher Diber Moshe. And the Ramban speaks about it in his Dagdama to Sefer Dvorim. So if these are the words that Moshe Rabbeinu spoke, so then why is it part of the Chumash? Why is it part of the Torah? Because Hashem commanded him to make it part of the Torah. When you're speaking on a level that you're so connected, it's like really Torah. Yeah. Okay, so now he's expanding it a step further.
Before we expand, I'm troubled by this shiur here. On the one hand, I've been taught mitzvah gedolah liyot b'simcha Sunday. Fine. And now I'm learning that I need to be in a I may be getting it wrong.
Maybe you're getting it right.
That I need to be in a state of the broken-hearted and cry because I don't have a connection.
So-
Which means I have to go through like this sort of thing.
It means that you have to know how to do both.
How can you be the simcha?
Yeah, remember the Kotzker Rebbe's teaching, there's nothing more whole than a broken heart. Gilu bir Adam. You know what I'm saying? It's both. It's like the Chosin crying at his wedding, like he's crying over the connection. It means so much to you that when you don't have it, you cry. In Tisha B'av, you don't have it. Tisha B'av, you're not, like Reb Shlomo said, you're not even allowed to learn Torah on Tisha B'av. You got it. Tisha B'av but let's take it a step further. You'll see some more.
I
Okay.
don't mean to belabor the point.
But I understood you. Let's just read a little bit more. Okay. Chiburim Ha'olam, page 211, connecting with the whole world. Ka'et nitkadem opsiya. Let's take it a step further. Chaverim, kishani mechubar im shamayim ba'aretz. My friends, when I'm connected with heaven and earth, ani mechubar gam im kol ha'olam, then I'm connected with the whole world. Ani mamash mechubar im kol ha'olam. I'm connected with the whole world. And I will say sheteidu mashu lo yuman. I want to tell you something unbelievable. Abal Shem Tov HaKadosh Haya Yotzei B'chol Leil Shabbat. The Holy Baal Shem Tov, every Friday night, he would go out, L'kabel Pnei Shabbat Kodesh, to receive Shabbos. V'reiti b'Sefer, and I saw this Sefer, Sheba Mezhibosh, that in the city of Mezhibosh, where the Baal Shem Tov was living, B'leil Shabbat Kodesh, on Friday nights, Kol haparot v'chol hasusim ne'elmu. All the cows and horses will disappear. It's your next children's book. Why? Madua? Ki כשהבעל שם טוב יצא לקבל פני Shabbat, because when the Baal Shem Tov would go out into the field to receive Shabbos, כל הפרות הסוסים באו איתו גם כן. All the cows and horses would go with him.
Is this a true story?
Why not?
Sounds like it.
Okay,
That's good.
but let's go on. אי אפשר לשער עד כמה הוא היה מחובר עם הנקודה העליונה. You can't imagine how strongly he was connected to the supernal point. עד כדי כך, so much so, שגם החיות היו צריכות ללכת איתו. The animals sensed it, and they wanted to be there. הוא היה מחובר תמיד עם הלמעלה. He was like mamish, always connected with the above. אבל בשבת, he was always connected, אבל בשבת קודש זה היה כמו אחרי שהמשיח הגיע. On Shabbos it was like on the level, like as if Mashiach was already here. היום ההוא יהיה השם אחד ושמו אחד. That on that day God's name will be one and his name will be one. Hashem is one in his name. כל כך עמוק, גם יותר עמוק מהלמעלה ולמטה. So deep, even more than the supernal and the mundane. In other words, when you're really connected, everything around you wants to be part of it. It's like I read a story that this woman wrote in the Kol Chevron. She said that they had a dog that, like when people would come to visit their house, they would have to put the dog in another room because the dog didn't like visitors, especially men. And one day, Shlomo knocked on the door, and it was Rivka Haut wrote the story, and they had, for some reason or other, they just hadn't put the dog away. And Shlomo came in, and the dog, Mamish, came and sat down next to him and wanted to be there right next to him the whole time. And I don't know, you may have had these experiences, like when you're meditating or whatever it is. Like, animals will come if you're really in the right space, or when you're praying, if you're really in a good space, animals will come and be with you and be nearby. They sense it. Okay? There are people who go to and they're not davening, but there's somebody so special over there. They just want to be there when that person is davening. They just want to be there. And ask them why. They don't know. They just it feels so good. Sometimes you walk into a shul, like you don't even feel like staying for Nebuch for more than a few minutes. Sometimes you walk into some place and like you can just sit down and stay there. The Rabbi Sutton always speaks about this is not about me or about Judy, but it's just about all the people that come here over the years. So a guest was here from Montreal. He sat down in that chair, and he says, "I just feel like melting. I don't want to leave." Because there's been so much good energy in this Medrash, in this room, that mamish, like people come in and we've heard it many times. Like people have said. And they were here just like one time.
That's what happened to me today. I was here once with David.
Yeah.
He just told me he's coming here. I'm like, and I feel what he described.
And Baruch Hashem, and people have been here like one Shabbos Shudas, and they go over to Judy and they say, they feel that they were they feel like this is what they needed. This was their healing, like in some level. And everyone, what I'm saying is that every one of you can be in that space, and like and people are just going to gravitate towards it, and they'll just appreciate being around you. And that's your biggest honor. Is that people? Your biggest honor is that when people around you feel elevated by being in your aura. That's your biggest honor. That's the highest covet. You don't have to know about it. If you know about it, if you think about it, you're not going to be in that space. But your biggest honor is that you love the people around you, and that makes them feel elevated. That's the relationship between kavod, honor, and ahava. Okay. So he's saying that we're talking about connection all this time, right? So he's saying if you're really, really connected, then your connection is not just you and God alone. If it's just you and God alone, don't fool yourself. You're not that connected. If you're really connected with Hashem, you don't have to tell anybody about it. Everybody around you is going to feel it. Okay?
When one feels a connection with another human being and doesn't know the reason why, I'm not talking gender here. I'm talking.
Yeah.
And you don't know the reason why. Just want to be there with them. Would one say that my neshama is connecting with them?
Your neshamas are definitely like once the Baal Shem Tov was working with the students, and there was a woman pushing a carriage across the street and with a baby in it, a little child, and the Baal Shem Tov went across and played with the child for a bit, and the kid was laughing, and it wasn't a Jewish kid, and the students were wondering what's this, and he said to them, this child, the neshama of this child, we were standing next to each other at Mount Sinai. And that child ended up becoming Graf Potocki, this famous convert, the story of Graf Potocki. It's an amazing story. Died al Kiddush Hashem. It's the whole, you're trying to analyze it too much. Don't try to analyze it so much. I'm serious. I'm not, it's not, it's don't put it under a microscope right now. Okay? Because if you were experiencing it, that's because you understand, if you, there are families of souls, there are groups of souls, there are experiences in the past where, but I'm not gonna try to speak about it and pretend that, I know that this neshama. I don't know. Big tzaddikim maybe know, big mekubalim know. Somebody once came to Reb Nachman, who was a descendant of a Rebbe, and he wanted to. That Rebbe had passed away, and he came to Reb Nachman for smicha to be a Rebbe. So Reb Nachman said to him, if you want to be a Rebbe, you got to know the person who's with you, not just in this lifetime. You got to know where they were in the previous 10 incarnations. And he says, for example, you're buried in this cemetery in this century. You got buried in that cemetery in that century. And he lists him all the places that he's been buried already. And he says, and if you don't know that, you don't have any right to be a Rebbe. Compare that, or put it together with what the Rishner said. The Rishner said, if you don't feel the pain of a woman in labor in a radius of 300 kilometers, you're not a Rebbe.
Those
No.
qualifications for your snicker.
No. Here, you want an application? Okay. But yeah. So you understand? So these are like don't put it under a microscope, like but understand, like like if you're really connected, like the visioner, he'd feel the pain of a woman in labor like 300 kilometers away. Okay, so he says, כשמשיח בא, וכשבית המקדש השלישי יורד מן השמיים, the Mashiach will arrive, and the third Beit HaMikdash is going to come down from heaven, as it says, Ki beiti beit tefillah yikareh l'chol ha'amim. My house will be a house of prayer for all the nations. Kol ha'olam yavo Yerushalayim litpalel. The whole world is going to come to Yerushalayim. Imagine the traffic jam. No, don't worry about it.
Making better.
So
using the train.
by the way, the Ben Gurion Airport is capable of receiving as many people on a daily basis as the Nazis were killing during the war.
Really?
I'm sorry.
So the Ben Gurion Airport is capable of receiving as many arrivals as the Nazis were doing away on the worst of days. You'll be in touch, yeah? Send pictures. Okay? Call to have a good summer. There's, we're getting ready for everybody to arrive. What I'm saying is we're getting ready to bring for everybody to come back. Okay? So don't worry about the traffic jam. We'll figure it out. Okay? But they ki beiti beit tefillah yikareh l'chol ha'amim. In other words, if you're really connected, you're looking forward to the day that the whole world is going to come to pray here. Okay? If you're really connected. And so obviously there's different levels of connection. There's Zrat Hashem. Like every year, like hopefully this is the year that it's all going to happen. You understand? But if you're really connected, Zehu, like you care about everybody. But in the meantime, there's still a lot of tzoros going on, and there's see what do all the like Nebuchadnezzar when he came to attack Yerushalayim, well, he was afraid to come. He knew that Hashem is forcing him to come. Okay? He shot arrows into the sky in all directions, and whichever direction he shot it, they turned around and turned towards Yerushalayim. And he knew that he's going to have to attack, and he knew that that's going to be his end. Every nation that conquered Israel, that was their end. Historically, they did it,
and they know it.
And they know it. And so, like the Midrashim say, they're just like a whipping rod in Hashem's hand. But what they really want is they really want us to be on the level where we're going to bring peace to the whole world. Okay, that's what we need to do. But in the meantime, we're still living in this reality, and we have to defend ourselves, etc., etc. If we would be on the level that we need to be, and Mashiach will be here, so then all that weaponry is going to get turned into plowshares and pruning hooks, etc. And so on. But in the meantime, we really have to daven for that too. So he says, Chaverim, let's just finish another paragraph, okay? Mazot tefillah, what is prayer? Tefillah perusha shani rotze shuv liyot kashur im alamala. Prayer is all about wanting to be connected with the supernal realm. Tefillah perusha kayadua, prayer, as we know, lo bakasha, it's not just making requests, that's one kind of prayer. But ki'i mamash, but the depth of prayer is Ribono shel olam אני רוצה להיות מחובר אליך, right? Master of the world, I want to be connected with you, right? Leah's one of Yaakov's children. His name was. What's one of the children? Huh?
Not quite a few.
I know. So the one name that's connected with the word tefillah. No. No.
You're right.
It has the same letters. No. Naphtali, right? Naphtali, right? And what's the meaning of Naphtali? That I got connected with, right? Naphtali has the give me voracious up there. One couple shows up, voracious, any one of them, right? So Naphtali was born to Bilhah, but Rachel named him Naphtali Elokim Niftalti, right? Which means I'm now connected with my children because I too, with my sister because I too have children. Mm-hmm. So tefillah is by being connected. It has other meanings as well. Okay, one of the meanings of the hitpalel is to judge yourself. Mm. What are you judging yourself on? Not on how much of a tzaddik you are or how much of not a tzaddik you are, but how connected am I to Hashem? Okay. So that's why the Amidah begins with 3 blessings of praising God, right? So the Gemara says, Amar Abstin Loi, before you start making any requests, first speak about Hashem's praises, etc. So what's pshat? It's not that you're, so to speak, buttering up God, like, oh God, you're so great, you're so this. What you're doing is you're saying, we're commanded, we're commanded to bond with Hashem. So the Gemara says, how can you bond with Hashem? God is a consuming fire. So the Gemara goes on, it says, Mahu rachum afata rachum, Mahu gomer chasadim afata gomer chasadim. We bond with Hashem by imitating what God does. God acts with kindness, and when we act with kindness, we're bonding with Hashem, right? So saying those praises of Hashem at the beginning of the Amidah is like sort of like checking yourself out. Since the last time that I prayed until now, have I helped people? Have I helped heal people? Have I supported people, etc.? That's why, in other words, you're praising God for all these things, but at the same time, there's a self-judgment that's going on. What am I doing about this? Like one of the most powerful words in Yiddish. Here's your Yiddish lesson, the pun of the day. What's the most powerful word in Yiddish besides oivei? Nu. Nu, right? So what are you doing about it, right? And so we should be blessed to internalize these beautiful words, these deep lessons. Now today is this is the beginning of the summer break now, but if you guys want to come learn, we're not going to be here all the time during summer, but when we're here, if you want to come learn, continue this at the 12:30 class, please let me know, and we'll do it. Okay, so if you want, like, if you want to know, like, if you know that you're coming to learn, send me a text message or something like that, and we'll learn. The door's not going to be closed. There are going to be days that we're going to be away. Okay.
When you say we're in just the
12:30 class. Yeah. Okay.
Can we put it in order now?